So my name is Andrea. I am a mechanical engineering student at Northern Arizona University at their Flagstaff campus. I didn't know I always wanted to go to college. It was kind of new and something that was very unknown to me. I'm a first generation Latina, oldest sibling, and my parents didn't go to college. And so, kind of in that circumstance, growing up, I had some family members who had gone to college who were older, but none of them had pursued it in, I guess now that I know, like I did a STEM major, and so none of them had pursued it that way. I was fortunate to have teachers around me that would promote it in a way. Like they would always be sharing different things about college, or like, hey, like this is someone who just graduated and they're saying this about college, and you're going to be there in a few years. So I had that kind of situation for me, and then I was like, what other stepping stones do I need to know? So over the years, I got involved in extracurriculars, whether it was a club or talking to teachers on a one-on-one basis, or if I heard a conversation, I'd ask a question, be like, oh, what does that mean, or what does that look like, and just kind of have these conversations in the right spaces. I would go on college tours whenever I had an opportunity. I would go to presentations or seminars or conferences. um, I would ask friends who had recently graduated. So, like my junior, senior year, I had friends who had just graduated. And so they were in their first year of college. And so I would reach out to them when we would spend time together during their first year of college, just like, what was this like, or the other. Putting all those things together, I think, is what helped me decide kind of what major I wanted to do or career interests. I always like doing hands on activities. That is something I truly enjoyed. Like as much as I liked math, I liked my other some of my other classes and just other hobbies I had, sports and things. The hands-on part is what I found I always was more inclined to. And so one time I heard engineering and I was like, what is that? And I looked it up and it sounded a little bit like me. It was math heavy, but you still got to build things, but there was just such an open-ended in like an open-ended major. There was so many things you could do with it that I was like, I need to choose a major and just go with it and just see what my college experience turns out to be. I heard you can change your major, and so I was like, if I hate it, I'll do it early, because I've heard that if you change it later, you spend more time in college. And I was like, first off, it's expensive and all these other things, but the biggest thing is it's so expensive. Do I need to spend more time in college than I need to? I took my first couple of classes and just went with it, and I liked them. It was definitely me in those classes, and so I kept going with it, and that's how I chose my major in a way, because I wanted to do everything. I couldn't decide at first, and so checking in and reflecting on what I liked is what helps me choose that. At first, it was maybe like culture shock, both academically and just the environment I was in. I went somewhere where I didn't know my roommate, I didn't have any close friends going, and so the people that I would have on my campus, like the diversity was definitely different than where I was in high school. In a way that does affect you, because it's a different environment you're in, and especially if you're by yourself outside your comfort zone, like it's changed. It's gonna be uncomfortable. And so I had that barrier for maybe like the first year. And then other things got better in my life. And so that helped with that. A barrier was that as much as I was an introvert, I liked socializing. And yet I felt kind of alone in college with so many people around me. So I started getting involved, because in high school I was involved and I enjoyed that. So once I balanced my schedule out, I did that. And it helped to just make new friends and socialize and see more of the city of where I lived. And so I had scholarships, and that's a big factor that supported my decision to go to college as well, because like I mentioned, it's expensive. It's like a big commitment in money. So I had to maintain a specific like GPA requirement to keep my scholarships, because they were academically based. And one year I had a rough semester. It was just really difficult classes and just other stuff in my life. And so I actually lost the one with the highest GPA requirement, and so I was concerned about how I would continue to fund my education. At that point, I had been involved in, per se, the academia world enough to understand the resources my school offered as a student. Um, Other organizations that were out there that would support me financially as a student, and where I could look for more scholarships or grants or just another way to like pay for my school. So that was a barrier that I encountered, and then I was able to just kind of overcome from the knowledge that I had. It's what you do outside of that as well, whether it's towards your career or just your general life. And so for me, that was getting involved in extracurriculars for community service. That's something that I hold dear to my heart, and I needed that in my life, and that kind of brought other things as well, like the friends, the socializing, and then professional networking opportunities with my other extracurriculars in my major. There was times where they offered things that would just give me an opportunity to talk to people, or again, like tours and seminars and presentations of people in the industry or in their career with engineering, that gave me a better picture of how to use my degree after college. So I think kind of combining those two things is what really was one of the best parts of my experience on top of the general coursework. So